All right, welcome back. And of course, that was the sports minister just laying it bare, saying it the way it is. And, Damilola, sometimes when you give people an opportunity to present the facts to you, to present the true picture to you, sometimes it clears your doubts and your ignorance disappears. And when you're blaming people, you know the right people to blame for some certain things. You know people to hold responsible for some certain things. And if something is always going in a particular direction, then now you understand why it's happening.
Well, I agree with you totally, Yemi. And for me, strong words from the minister, except that the minister has been highlighting different issues, different challenges facing federations, specifically mentioned football. And but the only issue is that he was highlighting the problems. He didn't tell us what he has done so far to solve the problem, except that he said for the athletes, he has decided to pay them directly, which I'm not even too comfortable with that as well, because again, what that would do.
But that's like they say, a stitch in time saves nine. I mean, that's the only way to curb mismanagement.
What?
It's not an ideal situation. I do agree with you, but I would rather that the athletes get paid than hear any other kind of story.
Well, I would rather that the minister in his capacity finds us a policy that will ensure that monies are not embezzled by the administrator, so that when he leaves office, he will not come back to this topic.
Okay.
Because what he has done now will only serve this purpose. While he's there, the next minister comes in and then there is a different story entirely. So I think what he should be doing in his capacity as a sports minister is to look for the loophole that these administrators, like for example, he said, somebody told him that it's easier to it's more profiting to fail than to succeed. Now, the point is, if there are budget for you to get to the second round, the quarterfinal, the semi-final, and the final of the World Cup, for example, and the Super Eagles, for example, in 2018, we are knocked out in the first round, then it should be asking for accountability. Yes. The remaining funds. Why should it go to the coffers of the federation? It should be retired to this, back to the sports ministry, because I mean, we all can see that there is no need for that funds anyway. So why not return it and wait for the next competition? So those are the kind of policy position I expect the minister to take, rather than say, I will go there with the money, with the cashier and the accountant, and then I'll pay the athlete. For me, I'm not sure that is an ideal situation.
But he also talked about the surge, the increase of participation in sports like Scrabble.
Yeah.
He also talked about the amazing feat of our ladies in basketball, what they were able to achieve. And at some point, listening to him, it was 2018 wasn't all doom and gloom.
Definitely.
Wasn't all doom. There were some areas that were bright spots.
Yeah.
The issue of our administrators is something most of us don't like talking about. Yeah. That is there. But when you talk about the sports, the interest of the sports, the performance of the athletes in the sports, there are a lot of things to smile about in 2018.
Yeah, a lot of things to smile about in 2018. Unfortunately, most of us pay too much attention to football, and that's why it seems when football fails, every other part of Nigerian sport has failed, but that's not true. Particularly, I will credit badminton and Scrabble. These are two ministries that you see, and wrestling as well. Daniel Gale has been doing fantastic with that federation as well, and these are the sport federations that you know that there is a plan towards what has been achieved so far, and you believe that if the right things are still done moving into 2019, those sports can only get better. Unfortunately for us in football this year, yes, we've had some flashes of successes here and there, but again, you ask yourself the simple question, did we even plan to succeed? At those stages where we succeeded, the Super Falcons, he mentioned it, won their 9th AFCON, but with what? To some extent, it's just the sheer talent of those ladies and their determination than the federation paying special attention towards their success. Again, in our usual style of defying the odds, the Super Eagles were well prepared, but they are the ones that failed. The Super Sand Eagles, they had little or no preparation, and they got to the final of the AFCON as well. So,
mixed
bag of reaction, feelings here and there. But I feel generally it would be wrong to say 2018 was bad for Nigerian sport. I think we've had decent performances. Don't also forget that we had the Commonwealth Games this year, and we didn't have a terrible performance. It could have been better, but it wasn't the worst we've ever had, in my opinion. I think based on what we've invested in the athlete, we got a decent result.
Decent returns, some would say expected returns. So that is it. The sports minister, Pastor Solomon Dalong, explaining a lot of issues, blowing the lead on some of the issues, and also telling us what he would likely do to solve some of the problems, and hopefully he'll be able to do all of those things. All right, let's spend the remaining time that we have on the show to attempt a review of football in 2018. A lot happened in 2018 with Nigeria. Of course, we can't cover all the sports, but let's see how far we can go with football. I mean, your highs and lows. There's no way you won't talk about the Super Eagles. You already started anyway. But your highs and lows, Super Eagles 2018, first round, World Cup, got out. But of course, you take one, you leave one. We qualify for the Nations Cup. We're not in the last two editions. We qualify. So, I mean, you look at that, and the ladies, you talked about them as well. And, you know, 2 years ago, the age grade, all of them, it was all doom and gloom. The reverse was the case again. So, I mean, you could look at that and say, you can't really say it's good or bad. This thing, we're in there somehow.
You can't really say it's good or bad, but again, it's something we need to also take a critical look at. You have to look at moving forward how the NFF will handle most of our national teams. I know it's a difficult thing to ask them to manage effectively at equal measure 11 national teams, because that's what we have. Most people do not know that we have as much as 11 national teams that is under the Nigerian Football Federation. But the overemphasis on the Super Eagles seems to be affecting the other teams badly. But unfortunately, again, those ones seems to be doing a bit better, especially when you compare the Super Eagles and
the
Super Falcons.
Attention.
Those not getting the attention. Just like you said, with the age grade under 17, under 21, we're back to the Nations Cup. The Super Eagles, we're back to the Nations Cup. But I do not agree that you have to take one and leave one. I think
you could take both.
We could, yeah, and we should, actually.
We should have.
They are qualifying for the Nations Cup and shouldn't have affected our performance at the World Cup. But again, when you also consider the fact that we've not been to the last two Nations Cup, that should have been a preparatory ground for this World Cup. It means that we went to the World Cup with largely inexperienced players, and probably that will suffice for
why we crashed out.
Why we crashed out, because we had just 5 minutes to save our World Cup.
Just 5
minutes to save our World Cup. And
it wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant, and then the experience of the Argentines just proved a bit too far for us.
Let's flip. Let's talk about the girls. I mean, the girls are always making us proud. There's nothing left to be said. The only difference this year is that after the first game, you got some bashing. A lot of things that you don't normally hear. You start hearing, oh, this team is old, blah, 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 you know, a lot of all of those things. But, I mean, they still defy the odds.
Yeah.
Went on to win their 9th title.
Yeah, they still defy the odds, and I think that's just the word. If you have a national team that didn't play any decent match in 2 years, except for 3, one friendly against France where we had beaten...
So, because of this moment, can we forget all that has happened in 2018 and just take this moment, or we still need to revisit everything that happened in 2018 in spite of this moment?
Now, the only time we could have just taken this moment and forget every other thing was that night.
Was this night?
After this night, we have to go back.
We have to go back.
If not, we'll keep making the same mistake.
Okay.
Because winning the AFCON, yes, that night we allowed them the joy of winning as African champions again. But we need to go back to the fact that should we have struggled? Because really, we won, but we struggled. The difference was, for me, what gave us this Nations Cup this year was just the sheer talent of the girls. If other African countries have the same measure of talent that we have, especially the South Africans, with the investment they've had over the last few years, we have no business winning this Nations Cup, really. Okay. But because of our sheer talent, that's why they tell you that class will always...
So Damla is saying, in spite of this moment, we still need to go back to the issues?
We still need to go back to the issues. Because this moment didn't take away the issues.
Okay. So there's no way we can gloss over 2018.
We shouldn't.
In spite of this celebration.
If we did, then it would go back to what Solomon Dalong said.
Okay. I would have... let's look at our clubs. Aimba got to the semi-final of the CAF Confederation Cup. They were seeking to win. That's the only trophy they've not won. And they were really close.
They were really close,
in spite of all the drama, everything. I mean, this kind of moments in football, sometimes you could almost cry. Yeah. Because at this point, they were still in the game. Yeah. But it's one of the moments in 2018 that you wish didn't happen, because Enyimba could have gone all the way.
Listen, after the game against Argentina at the World Cup, this was the night that I felt bad the most this year, watching Nigerian football. Because yes, they lost at home against Raja in the first leg in Aba, but this second leg, up until this time,
they were playing better. They were in it.
They were playing better. They created more chances. They could have scored 2 goals and will have cancelled out the deficit they had at home. But then, funny enough, they couldn't nick the goal, and then a defensive blunder. Look at that. Just look at that. A defensive blunder. Whatever that young man was thinking at that time, only he can explain it.
I don't know.
And the moment they considered this goal, it just all went downhill. Over. And then they eventually lost this match. I think 3-1 or there, yeah.
On aggregate.
On aggregate. So sad one. Sad way to exit the continent, really.
Sad way to exit the competition. We'll see what happens. But let's pay a thought for the ones in there now. Yeah. Rangers. And Lobby, one in the CAF Confederation Cup, one in the CAF Champions League. And of course, the drama in Nigeria, we can't even go into that. We don't have the time. But all the drama seemed to be affecting those two teams, even though they were able to get to the next stage of the competitions they were playing in. But you also feel that the drama currently playing out between the NFF, the LMC, and the NNL could rob these teams in a way.
I think it could, moving forward. But again, define the odds in our usual style. I still do not understand how Lubia and Rangers made it through to the next stage, really. Because most of the other teams they are competing against on the continent are playing football regularly.
Week in, week out.
Week in, week out. These guys, for example, Lubia had not played football in a long time. They've not played competitive match in a long time before these CAF Champions League qualifiers started. And yet they made it to the group stage. Again, it comes down to the fact that with proper funding, with proper planning, with proper training, and getting the right administrators in, we can move mountains in this country with the massive talent that we have. But unfortunately, we just don't get it right administratively, and then that robs us all the glory we could have had even in years past. Look at this final, the ITU Cup final, one of the best we've seen in years, and to think that these teams are also doing well on the continent, for me, is just credit to the management of those clubs. In terms of the LMC, the NNL, or the NFF, I think for me, it's just knocks all around in terms of what they've turned Nigerian local domestic football into.
All right. I can't agree less. I can't agree less. I agree with everything that you have said. And I hope that next time we come here, we won't be talking about all of this. Let's travel abroad. We have a couple of minutes before we exit. Let's talk about Liverpool. Yeah. A lot of us thought they'll be chasing Manchester City, but now they're on top. A younger club has been saying a lot of good things. But before I allow you to comment on that, let's see if we can quickly listen to Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp talking about the Newcastle game, saying we're on top and all of the things. You're giving us credit, but my focus is on Newcastle.
Believe me, I don't think a second about January or February. I think about Newcastle. So, and that's all what is in my mind. And as long as the boys can follow me on that path, and you don't disturb that with asking constantly about what will happen when, everything can be fine.
Choice words from Jurgen Klopp. Damilola, as we go, you think Liverpool won't cave?
I think at some point they will lose, but Liverpool might lose 1 or 2 games with the teams behind them win, because now it takes Liverpool to lose and at least have a draw for Man City to catch up, and that's what makes it difficult.
Okay, all right. So, well, I guess we have to leave it at there. Boxing Day, a lot of matches in the English Premier League tomorrow, a lot to enjoy. But that's how we have to wrap things up on the show. First, Damilola, I want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with me today. I do appreciate it. We'll do this again some other time.
Definitely.
All right. I want to say thank you again for allowing us to be a part of your day. I hope we've been able to brighten up your day and, of course, entertain you the much we can. So we'll do this again tomorrow. Enjoy your holidays. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow to take you on a trip across the money-spinning world of sports. I'm Yemi Adebayo. Bye-bye now.